morning. Welcome on this rainy day. I'm Mary Winters, and I am a gerontologist and the owner of About Senior Solutions, and you are watching Visionary Aging. We always talk about someone who's turning 100. We have a very special man who wants to jump out of a plane. We're going to talk about him today, and we have Steve McCullough. We'll have his caregiver question, and we have the infamous Dr. Navarro, who I've known for years and who is doing some amazing things over at the Senior Resource Center for Aging, or the Center for Resources for Aging. I know I'm getting that wrong. So we can hear her laughing in the background too. We'll get her to share a little bit more about what that is over at Verdugo Hills Hospital. And let me go on and we'll talk about our birthday boy today. We have someone from Nevada. He's from the Reno area. His name is Charles. And Charles Montanaro he was in the Merchant Marines during World War II, and it's his birthday. In fact, it was just a couple days ago. He was a machinist and born in Cleveland, Ohio, and he was raised in the Midwest with his family. But he went to Nevada on a vacation back in the 60s, and he fell in love with Nevada. So he's been there ever since. And he has these great friends over at Chicago Mike's Pizza in Garnerville. That's where he lives. And they just say he's an absolute superstar. He's their local hero, and he's the most outgoing, generous, happy person, they say all the time. He began as a civilian worker at the Naval Gun Factory in Washington, D.C. before Pearl Harbor, and then he was transferred to San Diego. We love San Diego. And he served on 4 supply ships during World War II. And he says that he misses those days. But it was hard times, but he said by the grace of God that he was able to get through that, and he had such great friends. He moved in the 60s, as I mentioned before, to Reno, and he moved out for a little bit and then I guess came back in 2014. So he's just an amazing man. It's all over. If you look him up, he is all over the papers because he is saying that he is going to jump out of a plane with his friends. I don't know if that's something he did all the time or not, but he said he's ready to do that. And I believe him. So looks like they may be going to Tucson, Arizona to do that, a little skydiving trip. And maybe he'll hit a world record also. So congratulations to Charles. Happy birthday. I hope it's a great, great, great year for you. And we'll look forward to hearing more about your adventures as a skydiver. So let me move on to talk with Steve today. We want to see what his caregiver question is. So let me see if I can find his little piece here. And you guys can start with your question. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, let's see if we can.
Staying dry?
Yeah, trying to stay dry, right?
Crazy.
We need the rain though, so that's a good thing, huh?
I love it.
Yeah.
Very peaceful, very calming.
Exactly. So tell me, what kind of a caregiver question do you have today?
So my caregiver question actually relates to the weather. So it has to do with evacuations, and I know that people that live in some of the burn areas potentially are under evacuation warnings. So what do you do if your elderly parent lives in one of those areas and they don't want to leave? Like how do you convince them, and how do you prepare them to leave if they have to?
You know what? That is a really tough question, and I think in part you're going to need to ask the community to help you. So it depends on really what their what their frailty might be, or how ambulatory or whatever the situation is. I would say if they are really dependent, then you just need to go in and take care of the situation and get them to safety, set them up in a hotel, or do whatever it is that you need to do at a distance. But you can certainly call local authorities, the police, the fire department, let them know that you do have an aging parent who is maybe has some capacity issues or some issues with being able to move easily, and see what kind of plan they are putting together for older adults and disabled adults. And I'm sure that they can help direct on some level. But yeah, that is a really tough question when somebody doesn't want to do something and you know it's in their best interest.
Especially nowadays with COVID too.
Right, because they don't
Not
want
like
to move.
just
They
getting
don't
out is getting out and being comfortable.
Sure. So I think obviously balancing that risk with timing is important. We saw some of these fires like up in Paradise and people waited too long. So obviously weigh the risk and weigh the disabilities of your parent to decide how much action you need to step in and take control of, or step back and allow them to make some decisions and hope for the best. So, and then putting some kind of emergency system in place, making sure too that you have your to-go bag, so to speak. So you do have something packed, you do have your IDs, your medications, and those things together, so you're not caught off guard if you really do need to evacuate quickly. I think that's also very important. So, wow, big one. Yeah. So we have Dr. Adria Navarro on this morning, and she has tons of resources and things that she can talk about. She probably can talk in more depth and has lots of communication with the county and multiple organizations in the LA County area that we can, or California, that we can talk about. So yeah, maybe we'll bring Adria on and see what she might be able to, or Dr. Navarro, see what she might be able to advise us. So I'll talk with you a little bit later on. How's that?
Great. Have a great show.
Okay, thanks. And let me see, we have Dr. Navarro here. She is a phenomenal lady. I just think the world of her. And she is over at Community Resource Center for Aging at USC Verdugo Hills Hospital. And she holds a part-time appointment as an associate professor over at the School of Behavioral and Applied Sciences at Azusa Pacific University. She received her doctorate from USC Davis School of Gerontology in 2011. I remember when that was happening, and I can't believe it's been so, that time flies so fast too. She's worked as a licensed clinical social worker and on special projects managing things over at Huntington Hospital's Senior Care Network, which is also a great program. As a community practitioner and educator, she's maintained a focus on the health and well-being of older adults and their support networks. She is very involved over at USC Verdugo Hills Hospital, and she's connecting people with people on the phone and providing resources and really supporting our most frail and our overwhelmed caregivers too. So let me welcome Adria Emerson, Dr. Emerson. Or, I'm sorry, Dr. Navarro, Emerson Navarro. So let me go ahead and bring you on here. Let's see. Oh, I still have your picture up here. So let's get you up and we'll take your picture down. Good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. It's great to be here, Mary.
Oh, it's so nice to have you. I feel like I've known you so long, and I know you've been married quite a while, but after you had your PhD, you really were using Navarro. So
exactly, you remember.
Yeah, Dr. Navarro, thank you so much for being here, and tell us a little bit more about what you do over at Verdugo Hills USC.
Sure. Well, it was interesting. Last year, before the pandemic, I was asked to consult a bit, just pro bono consulting with the hospital, as they thought, how can we really support older adults in our community? And sorry, try to keep the frogs out. But so I was so touched by the work that they were planning. And then I started to think, I want to do that work. And so what it is, we have it's kind of a call center, or if you think of an area agency on aging where you can call in and get information and referrals. I try to provide one of those that's special, in the sense that, I worked at Huntington Hospital for years. And so I know this area, and still learning lots more about it. But the idea is to have a kind of a neutral place where people can call and explore resources for older adults. And it could be, social engagement kinds of things, or it could be helping somebody that's having some changes in their functional ability. That's probably the most common. And then I was telling you this morning that, people are really thinking about, how to fight COVID. And so that people want to get a vaccination, and kind of looking at what's happening. It's such a dynamic and changing, environment right now with trying to find the vaccine in your neighborhood. So helping people with those calls as well. So it's pretty much, from, what do they say, from nuts to whatever. People can call with anything.
Oh, that's great. And I think you do get some caregivers who really are distressed and are caring for loved ones, and probably a sandwich generation. I can't even imagine having children in the house right now too, and taking care of parents. And I have had clients going through that. So do you have those situations as well?
Exactly. Yeah. I have had several calls from women in probably their 50s that are, they have tweens at home, somebody, that's trying to do school now from home. And then they have a parent with them as well, or responsibility for a parent. So they're really kind of being pulled. And I think one of the ones that comes to my mind, she also had some economic issues because she was running a hair salon. And of course, we all know how that's ebbed and flowed. It's been such a roller coaster to be safe at home and follow the shelter-in-place guidelines. So I know that hairdressers have really, had a difficult time making a living. And so she was in that situation, really thinking about her mother, but also her son. And I think, this, you just can't win, can you? You feel guilty, if you're not doing the best for either of those people in your life. So,
yeah, well, share a little bit too. I think many people do know what an LCSW is, but your background prior to even having your PhD is as an LCSW, and that's a big degree. But at the same time, the knowledge with that is so amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I do teach graduate level social work half-time. And so I've really valued the profession of social work. That's really how I identify. It's been, so many years. But I basically have worked in healthcare as a social worker, usually outpatient work that's very similar to this work, but involving care management as well. So I was managing programs like that over at Huntington for many years. And then actually I felt like things are so dynamic at that time. I really felt that I needed to get back to school and figure out how to evaluate programs and how to help develop new ideas, innovations. And so I've been focusing on interventions that help more vulnerable people as they age,
Tell me a little bit about that, especially with COVID and people trying to heal from that. Talk a little bit about some of those programs or the initiatives that you've been working on.
Well, let's see. With COVID, actually, there is a small part that I was able to play, really helping our board of supervisors with testing when we were still kind of in this situation where we couldn't find good COVID testing. I was really pleased that Hilda Solis's office reached out. And actually, we created a coalition, probably some folks that from the AARP days way back. Kind of pulled people together, and we were able to get some time with some of the deputies there at her office. And what was so touching is they knew the right people at the Department of Health Services that were actually struggling to, how do we reach seniors that live in congregate housing that, are kind of close to each other and getting exposed. And they would have like an in-home support service worker come in, see maybe 3 residents, and if they were positive, they had just exposed 3 tenants of the building, and certainly not someone you want to run into then down at the mailbox, because you wanted to stay safe. So there's a lot of these kind of HUD buildings older adults live in. in close proximity to one another, and they weren't able to get, for example, access transportation to go get tested because Access said, well, we can't sit at Dodger Stadium for 2 hours with you, and take you through. So in those early days, especially, we had to work basically on a program to pilot a program that could bring testing to the home setting. And so those were done by the mail. We would bring the testing in. I don't say we, the county arranged this, but the property manager of a building, we were able to pilot it with, really helped us work out some of the details. And it was really, really touching that they could begin to kind of go to different congregate housing after that and work out a plan where they could leave tests, and then people could mail those back in and find out if they were positive. So that was interesting, and trying to figure out, how to do the best.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. It was a whole new world. I mean, we're learning more, we're experiencing, we have some outcomes now, so we have a little more to go on, but to walk into this as fresh as we were, so interesting and very important what you're doing. I'm also wondering, I don't know if this is an area that you also touch on, but I think about somebody who may be ill, and how are they getting groceries, or how are they getting some of their essentials to them if they weren't having them delivered prior? Is that something that you researched or touched on as well? Or
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I have been able to set up a web page for USC Verdugo Hills that's about our program. And at the bottom of the web page, we have about 12 different resource pages. And one focuses completely on getting home delivered groceries and medications.
Wow.
And it was really fun over the summer. Last summer, I had grad students help me start to form some of the resource pages. And then there's a couple of really wonderful volunteers here in the La Cañada, Glendale area that helped me really get focused on our target area. We can serve anybody here, but we target a bit more on the foothill communities. And so we were really focusing on what are some of the stores doing and the pharmacies doing in our area here that people could get things delivered. So we have a resource page that's something that we try to keep up to date every 3 months. We take a look at these pages. So thanks for bringing that up. I have an MSW intern, and she just did a really fun tour of our webpage where, we just kind of walk people through, because unfortunately it's way down at the bottom of the page. So I think people kind of look there and see a little picture, but they don't realize that they can email me, or they can just open up some resource pages and get what they need right there.
Neat. I'm going to add your resource center, the phone number at the bottom of the program here too, so that way people can reach out to you. It's just in case someone is not able to see what we have at the bottom of the screen. Can you just share what the phone number is, and maybe the rest of it too?
We were laughing this morning about the name. Community Resource Center for Aging is a lot to say. So it's a resource center, and it's really the nonprofit hospital's ability to serve the community. So it's the number is 818. That frog came in there. 818-949-4033. 4033.
And then the website, it's great. Can you share the name of the
So it's the USC Verdugo Hills Hospital website, and it's Aging Resources. And feel free to give me a call. I can link you to, you can get connected there. We also run a column in the La Crescenta Valley newsletter. So I'm finding you can Google that and kind of see what some of the things are that I'm thinking about, and ways to reach me are there too. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. And how about the senior centers? I know they're pretty much closed. The Y is closed. At least, they may be doing some online learning and support, but what's happening with any of those resources too? Are you familiar with what's going on there?
Did you say senior centers at the beginning, or?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm getting ready to partner with the Glendale Library System. And they have told me that, all the local senior centers that they have worked with are closed right now. So I know that there's a big focus on home delivered meals by a lot of those sites. And there's a lot of things on Zoom, but not everybody Zooms, unfortunately. Right. So, but I think that we do have a resource page on some interesting websites that really cater to some interesting programs for older adults that want to, study something or do some exercise or just maybe work on technology skills. There's a lot of those kinds of classes with some different websites that we've collected. But I think that, I did a talk for the Brain Health Forum that we do every year here. And loneliness is a huge issue, and we really know that it's detrimental physically as well. So we've really got to work on those connections, and I'm just so looking forward to when we can get together in person. And I had envisioned like going over to Descanso Gardens and walking with people and chatting and stopping off and sipping coffee somewhere in Montrose. So I'm hoping for those days when we can actually be in person. But thank goodness technology has filled, a lot of a huge part of the gap. So I'm encouraging. I have some people that are hard of hearing, and they've said that it's a little bit tough. So I've been encouraging them to, reach out and get headphones or ways that they can actually, be comfortable with the technology.
That's great that people are trying. And I know some of my clients, their families are helping them set up with some kind of a system, or caregiver will bring a tablet so that the caregiver can assist somebody, but we still have to have some kind of a setup so we can have the internet too, or we can connect. So it's so, we've just really had to really think things differently, think out differently.
Right.
What are the other things that you think are kind of unique, some of the solutions that you've kind of come across with some of what's happening right now?
You know what? I know I don't have a lot of time. One of the things that I just feel really passionate about is the idea of deciding if someone has decisional capacity. And I can't say that there's any, magic bullet for that. I was thinking about what you and Steve were talking about, when somebody is trying to make a decision about evacuation or about having a caregiver in their home during the pandemic and all these difficult decisions these days. And I've been really trying to help social workers and healthcare professionals learn more about decisional capacity, done some training in a number of different conferences and things, but just really breaking that down. And for a moment, when we're doing our assessments in our work, it's important to think, how is the person processing this? Are they understanding the issues, especially when we have risks involved, right? Such as the example at the top of the hour here. I think that really having folks trained in how to assess decisional capacities, I think that's a big issue. And I'm hoping that, I've been able to do that. Actually, somebody in our local area wanted to move home from assisted living, and her sister was in another state. And so we talked by email and telephone, but it became, could you just meet her and could you help me with this? And so I was able to do some cognitive screening and also do the decisional capacity assessment, which was something I trained adult protective service workers on across California with a group of people at USC. And so just kind of going through that interview, I was much more able to help the family figure out, should we be helping her with this move, or should we be really realizing how unsafe it is and helping her to realize to stay where she was at assisted living. So that was, I just think we're going to be hitting, coming up against that quite a bit as we have more of an older population. So it's complex. And I think neuropsychological assessments are fantastic if we can get access to that professional capacity assessment. But I think we're going to have to be more facile. And I think a lot of us as social workers and others will need to be able to weigh in on those decisions to a stronger degree than we have maybe in the past.
Yeah, I agree. Is that something that you have as a training coming up soon, or?
Well, it was interesting. I was just thinking about that. I did a couple trainings recently, the National Association of Social Workers and the Aging Life Care Partners Conference for the Western region. I was able to do it there as well. So I think Azusa Pacific University does offer continuing education, and I have done it a few years back for them. So I think I will probably look at scheduling something. And if anyone's interested, I'm happy to talk with people and do some, just some one-on-one training and discussion about particular cases, consulting about cases.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. I might even take you up on that. That's great. Because I think
I would love to have
sharpening our knowledge is great.
I would love to have it like a time we each get together once a month or something. If we have some difficult, complex issues, I just feel like more minds are better than one.
True. It's very true. Yeah, and we forget that we can still talk. I think sometimes we put a false barrier up when we can't get together, and we forget that we can still organize some of these types of events and Zoom.
And of course, honoring our clients' confidentiality. I just want to throw that out. Obviously, we would be very careful about that, but I do think just these are new skills that not everybody. I have former students that say, we didn't get this in school, and so I've had actually in the summer, I do something where the Pasadena Village, they have some volunteers that act out some vignettes for the students, and they're able to go through the decisional capacity protocol. And so it's really been fun to kind of get some hands-on training.
Yeah, definitely. And things evolve and change, and that's why we, want to stay informed and educated and broaden our knowledge too as professionals. So thank you for doing that. That's
Sure.
really amazing. So thank you so much for being on. And one more time, if you want to say the phone number of the center, great.
Yeah. Feel comfortable to, USC Verdugo Hills Hospital is now part of the Keck Medicine group, and this has been about 7 years now. And I work at the Community Resource Center for Aging, which is a free program of the hospital, 818-949-4033. Hope to hear from you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Navarro. Have a great weekend.
You too, Mary. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Take care.
Amazing resource. Somebody I hope that you'll reach out to if you need any kind of resource out in that La Cañada, Crescenta Valley area and beyond, because she is absolutely amazing and so knowledgeable. Let me bring Steve back really quickly and we'll wrap up our show and you can head off for your wonderful weekend, hopefully. So isn't it great to know that we have resources like this and fantastic advocates for us? I mean, she wants to elevate me as a professional on top of supporting our community.
Right.
It's so amazing. So I'm
interested in these classes she was talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think going on to her page will be really important too. So that'll be really valuable. But I think it's helpful. That's why we have the program. So we get these resources out here and get people to take advantage of things that are important and help to really support individuals and make your life better. It's about making life better. So
definitely, education's the best.
Exactly. So let me go ahead and we'll wrap it up. I'll do our little extra, and you have a great weekend, my friend.
All right, you do the same. See you next week.
Thanks. All right, here we go.